Aging isn't about slowing down, it's about stepping into your power. Welcome to Don't Let the Old Lady In, the podcast where we challenge outdated beliefs about getting older and embrace wellness, self-love, and confidence. Your host is Lori Gardner, a registered nurse and nationally board-certified health and wellness coach, and she is your guide on this journey to vibrant, mindful living. Each episode will explore topics that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, and how to navigate health issues in the healthcare system as you age, so you can live with energy, purpose, and joy. Let's get started. Here's your host, Lori Gardner. Welcome back, beautiful friends, to Don't Let the Old Lady In podcast, where we choose energy, confidence, radiance, and inner power no matter what age the calendar says. I'm your host, Lori Gardner, nurse, nationally board-certified health and wellness coach, and a woman who believes your second half of life can absolutely be your best half of life. Today's episode is called Why Time Alone Can Be Your Superpower. Now, before you panic, I'm not telling anyone to go live alone or isolate yourself. This episode is about something very different. It's about reclaiming your inner space so you have more energy, clarity, and emotional strength. It's about learning the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. It's also about knowing how to use quiet moments to reset your energy instead of draining it. And if you've been feeling tired, overwhelmed, overstimulated, or pulled in a million directions, ladies, today's episode may feel like someone just handed you a missing life tool. So let's dive in. So, society tells women, especially aging women, something ridiculous, I think. Stay busy, stay plugged in, don't slow down, or people will think you're old. And that is how so many of us burn out. But here's the real contrarian truth. Time alone isn't a withdrawal from life. It's a return to yourself. Now, I know this podcast is called Don't Let the Old Lady In, and sometimes people say, oh, that's about just keep going, be more active. Not if it's like serious work and you're not enjoying it. It's more about being more authentic and more of yourself and not letting the old lady that society defines in. You define you, and you will always be a young lady in some ways if you are living from your inner place. So when you return to yourself, to that inner self, you actually aren't letting the old lady in. You're becoming more of your authentic self, and that's when your energy comes back online. Time alone can be a superpower because it lets you hear your own thoughts instead of everybody else's. It allows you to reset your nervous system. It helps you stop absorbing other people's stress. Remember we talked about emotional well-being in the last podcast? No, 2 podcasts ago? And not letting yourself get involved in other people's storms? Well, that's part of this. You don't absorb other people's stresses when you are practicing good alone time. It gives you space to choose instead of react. It also strengthens your intuition and reconnects you to your purpose. In fact, most exhausted women I coach, they don't need a new supplement. They just need space. We're bombarded with what diet to go on, what cosmetic surgery to have, what this, that, to all of it. And unless you allow yourself space, you're doing what everybody else wants you to do as opposed to finding out what you need. Like, you can define your own diet, you can define your own exercise regimen, but you need the space to figure out what's going to work for you. You can't reset your energy and get more of it if you never step away from the noise of this world. So how does alone time increase your energy and confidence, you wonder? Well, I'm going to break this down right now into 3 powerful shifts. Shift number 1, you stop leaking energy. Every interaction, every conversation, every worry, every responsibility pulls at your energy. And when you take even 10 intentional minutes alone, you stop the leaks. It's like closing all the apps that are running in the background on your phone that are just draining your battery, right? So with this, your brain finally can breathe a little bit, your body softens, and your energy starts to repair. So shift number 2, you strengthen your inner voice. Women at midlife often say, I don't know what I want anymore. Well, of course you don't. The world has been so loud and in your face. So time alone helps you hear yourself. You start to feel your preferences again, your desires, your new dreams, and a clarity that gets buried when you're surrounded by noise. I had a woman coach a couple months ago, and she talked about, a lot of women when they hit empty nest, she was an empty nester, they hit empty nest and they're kind of lost, understandably so. But this woman started to do the inner work. We started to do the inner work, and she started to wake up a little bit and open up and realize that she had forgot herself. But more importantly, she thought, oh my gosh, I totally lost my sensuality. Her sexual life wasn't great, but it's because the noise everything overcame her. And in our essence, we are sensual human beings. We're spiritual beings. And when we lose that, which is not uncommon, I did it myself, then we've lost that inner. So think of empty nest as a time to really wake up to that desire again. So that's the shift you can start to do. Shift to strengthening that inner voice and finding what you really want and opening up to all your possibilities and becoming more spiritual and becoming more sensual. Confidence will start to grow when you start to trust yourself and you know who you are. But you can't trust yourself if you've never heard yourself, right? Shift number 3, you reconnect to your power source. You may think you're losing energy because of age. No. You may be losing energy because you haven't given yourself a moment to breathe, reset, or be still. Time alone reconnects you to your intuition, your spiritual guidance, your purpose, your inner calm, your creativity, and your vitality. I have to tell you, ladies, because of all the women I talk to that are challenged with all this, that's why I created that energy reset formula. It is a mini course. It is low ticket. You do it at your own pace. You get a great coaching call with me at the end of it. I highly recommend you do that if you're interested. Just get in touch with me. Here's an interesting next segment we're rolling into. What women fear most about being alone. Most women won't admit this out loud. But here are the top fears I hear, and they share with me privately. If I slow down, I'll fall apart. If I'm alone, I feel lonely. If I pause, I'll have to feel things I've been avoiding. If I rest, I'll lose momentum. And this, ladies, I must say, is quite common. And it's something I kind of warn people about when they first start meditating or starting to do this inner work. There's a lot that could surface, some buried feelings and events that they've avoided, which is why I always talk about, like in the last podcast, emotional well-being. Let's honor those emotions. Let's not hold on to them too long. Let's move them through our body. Let's move them, honor them, and move them out. But if they've been stuck in there for years, once you start quieting that mind, whether it's meditation or doing this inner work, a lot can surface. That's where I say that's a time where you got to go deep with a professional and try and work that out. Sometimes shadow work is something that can be done. I coach things that aren't in the position where you need a professional, but that's oftentimes what can happen. All this stuff starts flooding in, and a lot of times you want to run from it, but I highly recommend you work through it. On the other end, you'll be amazed at who you'll become. But I want to share what will actually happen if you let go of those fears and do the work. When you slow down, you actually start to heal. When you're alone, you actually meet yourself again. She's pretty darn fabulous, right? When you feel what's inside, you can release it. And when you rest, your energy returns. Time alone doesn't create loneliness. It clears the emotional clutter that causes loneliness. Let's grab that one again, ladies. This is an awesome statement. So time alone isn't what makes you lonely. It clears the emotional clutter that causes loneliness. So doing this work, as you clear that clutter out, that loneliness is what I call, it shifts into sweet solitude because you start to really enjoy yourself. You're starting to learn to enjoy your own company the same way you would a dear friend. And I highly recommend at this point to make sure, just another tidbit I do in my self-love courses, make sure you talk to yourself like you talk to a dear friend, because a lot of us, myself included, inner critic, man, you look in that mirror and you're like, look at that, all negative. No, let's talk to ourselves like we're a dear friend. So how do we turn the time alone into a superpower? I want to give you some tools. I always like to give you some quick tools. The first one is the 5-minute quiet reset. Take 5 minutes. Maybe if you can do it once a day in the morning, great. I highly recommend trying to do it in the morning, maybe before lunch, before dinner, and at bedtime. Actually, doing this before a meal can actually help you be a better meal planner and maybe not eat as much and let go of that dessert, especially if you want to be in a healthier diet or weight loss. So the 5-minute quiet reset is where you just sit, no phone, no noise, no agenda, and you just breathe. Next one is the 10-minute morning pause. Before giving your world your energy, give some to yourself. Don't pick up the phone first thing, because that's giving the world energy. And just sit, maybe stretch, have a cup of tea, breathe, just be with yourself. Maybe speak kindly to yourself. Could be you just want to do some easy movement. Maybe you want to meditate, breathe, have your little morning coffee, but take 10 minutes in that morning for you. And set an intention for the day. How do you want to be that day? Like, I want to be full of joy and enthusiasm. Whatever it is that you choose, put that in for your 10-minute morning pause. 3 is the solo walk. Movement plus fresh air plus no conversation equals an instant nervous system regulation and will calm you down almost immediately. And so this is amazing. We all know that nature is so healing. Maybe you can't go for a walk, but you could go out in the backyard. Maybe if you have some green grass back there, walk barefoot. That's grounding. Hug a tree. Really engage nature. And then 4, the what do I need right now check-in. Ask yourself. Listen to your answer. Honor it. These are times where you could be in the middle of a really difficult problem or a challenge, or you just had a conversation that was difficult. You can take a breath and say, okay, what do I need right now? What do I need to do? Do I need to react? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to step back? Do I need to create a boundary? But just listen quietly to your answer and honor what that inner voice tells you. Number 5, the bedroom sanctuary rule. Your bedroom is a spa for your nervous system. Make it beautiful, calm, spacious, and yours. Because when you come up at the end of the day for your night of sleep, you want to have it ready for this calming effect on your nervous system and bringing it down so it's ready to sleep. So, lastly, the 20-minute weekly energy reset. This actually pairs perfectly with the energy reset course I did. Now, the energy reset course is low ticket. You can do it on your own time, but it really will make a difference for you ladies. And so this 20-minute weekly energy reset is where maybe you pick a day you're off. Could be a weekend. Some people work weekends. Maybe one day you're off. You take 20 minutes. You do this weekly energy reset. You light a candle. You put your hand on your heart and say how much you love yourself. And you ask your body, what do you need me to stop doing? And then what do you need me to start doing? You could reflect on the previous week and look at what is it that maybe my body and my essence is telling me to stop doing, and what do you need to start doing? And the start doing could be a boundary. The stop doing could be anything that really is draining your energy, and the start doing is simply maybe creating a boundary. Like, that will be limited. I will not do that after this point. And this is how you regain clarity, joy, and direction. So let's remember, beautiful friends, that time alone isn't loneliness. Time alone isn't isolation. Time alone isn't selfish. Time alone is how you reclaim your energy, confidence, intuition, and inner power. And if you take nothing else from today's episode, take this one. You deserve moments that are just for you, because you matter. Now, reclaiming your energy. Sometimes, this can sound easy. I like to say it's simple, but it's not easy, because a lot of stuff comes up when we start getting alone, doesn't it? I've talked to 2 clients in the last month, both divorced, and they had asked me, because I just started doing some business trips, solo business trips. I said, well, what do you do when you're traveling? Like, where do you eat? Do you go out alone? I said, I go out alone. But I'm going to tell you, when I did this many, many years ago, I did as a young woman, it wasn't easy for me to do it. I ordered room service because I was fearful. of going out alone. I felt people were looking at me. I felt uncomfortable. Well, first of all, people aren't looking at anybody necessarily in an uncomfortable way. And so I finally forced myself to do it because I said it was ridiculous that I would sit alone in a room when I had a restaurant. And it was all covered and paid for because I was traveling. So I shared that with him, and I said, no, it wasn't easy, but sometimes I always say if there's something you fear, you might need to push yourself to do it. So one gal had said she had tried to, her entryway into it was that she went to a bar restaurant and sat at the bar because that felt a little more comfortable, and you can understand that. You know, at a bar, there's other people just circulating around, and then she ordered her food, and she said that was really her gateway into being able to do it more. But listen, ladies, a lot of this is not easy if you've never done it your whole life, but I think it's worth saying to yourself when I say, what is it that I can do for myself? That's something you can do. Start looking at things you can do going out alone. You will build confidence by having done that. So again, if you want to go deeper and learn more sustainable ways to reset your energy and protect it and rebuild yourself from the inside out, from the root level, please make sure you get in touch with me, and I'm happy to share that Energy Reset Formula course. It's really low ticket, easy to do. And at the end of it, you get a wonderful coaching call with me so we can really cement in some of what you want to do. So, ladies, I hope this was helpful. I hope you start learning that loneliness, yeah, we're all going to feel lonely sometimes, but we can shift that pretty quick into some sweet solitude if we have the tools here that we use and employ, and keep growing and keep learning, because you know what? You ladies are all radiant, you're powerful, you're unstoppable, and you deserve to spotlight yourself, okay? So until next time, ladies, don't let that old lady in. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Don't Let the Old Lady In. Remember, age is just a number. Your mindset, energy, and passion are what truly define you. If this episode spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Subscribe and leave a review so we can continue this journey together. You are strong, vibrant, and unstoppable. Until next time, keep living boldly, loving yourself fully, and most importantly, don't let the old lady in.